Hello, my name is John Rose, and in this video I'd like to take a closer look at the knowledge that we are missing, the knowledge we need to solve most of our problems, and the problems of knowledge, the main reasons why we can't find this knowledge. And the number one reason why we can't find the knowledge we need, which simply has to do with correcting 5 main mistakes. And if you watched my videos before, you know what they are, but I'll be sure and go over them in case this is your first video in a moment. But the number one reason why we can't find this knowledge about how to correct these 5 main mistakes has to do with false knowledge. And you see, we cannot learn anything when we think we already know. And then I've identified 12 main sources of false knowledge and 7 wellness factors. And when we look at the number one source of false knowledge, that's the other piece I want to go over today. So what I'm talking about here is I numbered these pieces. We're looking at piece number 1 and piece number 3. Piece number 1 is the knowledge we're missing. It's the knowledge we need. It's lost knowledge. It's hidden knowledge. It's in our history. It's part of our traditions long ago, but not anymore. We've lost that knowledge. Our ancestors made a mistake. They fell in love with it. They got addicted to it. They ran to denial. And then they were able to pass it on down to their children. So now it's part of our traditions. So that's how we start our journey off in life, on the wrong path with this false knowledge that keeps us from finding the knowledge we need. So when we find the knowledge, when someone says we should eat a raw vegan diet, we think, well, that can't be true because it's in conflict with everything else I've been told. You see? That's how our belief system is working. So that's why we have to look at, well, why don't we have this knowledge? And the number one reason, once again, is false knowledge. Then we have to understand, well, why do we have these two forms of ignorance? Where we don't know, we don't know. And when we look at that, again, I've identified 12 main sources of false knowledge and 7 wellness factors. I want to focus on what I have now is the number one source of false knowledge. I labeled it piece number 3. For a long time, I had traditions as piece number 3 because I realized that's how we start our journey off in life, and this is what gets most of us right. We're taught this stuff from the very get-go. It's part of our traditions. This is why it's so hard to let go. It's part of who we are. I'm Italian, I like Italian food, whatever, etc., etc., etc. You know, wherever we're brought up, we like the Mexican food, we like the Chinese food. It's our culture. It's what reminds us of who we are. So this is why I had it, number 1, for a long time, but then I realized that we're smart enough to figure out that we're making a mistake if there wasn't something really getting in our way, something really screwing with us. And what's screwing with us is the worst negative effect from making the first mistake. And that's a dark side to our behavior. And what we have now is the darkest of the darkest of us, the sickest of the sickest of us, going out of their way to misdirect all of our so-called experts. So in effect, what we have is people who we think are experts and they're not our experts. And we have all these beliefs that protect what needs to be protected more than anything. And the 2 things that need to be protected more than anything on this planet right now has to do with the ultimate tool of control, which is money, and the ultimate tool of control, which is medicine. And you see, with money, the people who rule the world can own and control everything else, and then they can make sure the masses don't have very much and create this illusion of scarcity. It's one of the most important things they have to protect. At all measures, they have to protect this false belief that money is not making us enslaved. But yet, you can go to the Thrive documentary or Zeitgeist Addendum, or better yet, go to a video I uploaded where I show the common links and the common flaws between these 2 movements and conspiracy theorists. And that will help you get a better big picture of why it's so important for us to believe certain ideas. It's why it's so important certain people have been demonized so we don't entertain what they did. And the classic example is what happened with Hitler. Now, what happened to Hitler is he was demonized because he did exactly the same thing that Abraham Lincoln did. Are you paying attention? And also John F. Kennedy. You see, these guys understood how usury works. And if you just Google Japan and usury, you'll find interesting articles about how Japan did the same thing as Germany. They broke away from the powers that be. They started printing their own money, which is what Abraham Lincoln did and John F. Kennedy did. And it's interesting because before all of this started, as far as understanding more about how the usury works and all, I had a 150-page file on Hitler, and it was all bad Hitler, bad Hitler, bad Hitler. People say he's a vegetarian. Oh my God, no, he can't be a vegetarian. He did all these bad things. And it turned out that he was a vegetarian and he didn't do the bad things. That's how we've been tricked and fooled. In fact, Hitler wanted to make Germany a vegetarian country after the war because he saw the superiority of it. In fact, when he had his work camps, which has been falsely claimed concentration camps, he fed these people the best food possible. Read the garrison command orders and do a Google search on that, and what you're going to find is that they went out of their way to feed these workers that were making ammunition for them. They treated them very well because they wanted them to be in best health possible. They gave them 3 foot inspections every week. Oh my God, they're gassing them. No, they're taking care of them. They feed them special food, plant food. They even talked about using certain herbs and not cooking them too much. Do you hear what I'm saying? They even said that. In fact, Hitler he understood the importance of having this work camp produce the ammunition for the country. He treated these people as best as he could, even though they betrayed him. You know, they had theaters to go to, they had a swimming pool, they issued money. When you look into this, you realize, well, wait a second, that goes against everything we see. What about the pictures we've seen? Well, it turns out that they actually rebuilt the building. It's a reconstruction. Fred Lucher went over there to prove everything that it was doing that, and he said it's impossible for this building to have done what they claimed it done. It's just impossible, and he's a world's expert on that. You see, when they made up these lies a long time ago, they didn't know they have an expert that could come along later and go, this is bullshit, man, it's bullshit. Google Fred Lucher and just read a little bit about what he says about the gas chambers. It's all bullshit. When you even try to push the numbers to this, you realize that the numbers don't add up in every which way possible. So the reason why this is all done is because we want to associate Hitler with evil demon people, to not look at what he might have done that's good. And let me put things in perspective for you. Let's just assume Hitler did 1 million things in his life and 999,999 were the worst things ever. Let's concede that he did that. But he did one thing that was incredible. Do we ignore the one thing he did that's incredible? No, that's the point about Hitler, is that he did something incredible. He proved to the world that we live on an abundant planet, and he's dealing with the biggest obstacle we have that keeps us with false knowledge. That's why we're being programmed. Money's the ultimate tool of control, because with the money, you can own and control every major sector of human endeavor, and that's what you're going to find out when you watch the Thrive documentary. They follow the money. They looked at 12 major sectors of human endeavor. It's the same small group of people who own and control all of them, and they're the ones printing up our money, using usury, making us debt slaves. And if you just do some research throughout history, my God, Karl Marx, get his book, or the manifesto, and do a search for usury in that article. We're being controlled through usury, the loaning of money. This is what makes us debt slaves. This is one of the most important pieces of the puzzle, because this is why we can't get the knowledge. There's a direct connection between what I'm saying now and raw food. People don't get the connect. I do, because I've been trying to put the connection out. I've been trying to put this message out for a long time. Everybody who does this for a long time knows what's going on. Why do you think T.C. Fry switched his wellness messenger to the Freedom Networker? Because when he did his research on the AIDS, he realized the corruption, and that there's a reason why he was struggling getting this message out, not to mention he was attacked by the government. Herbert Shelton said the same thing about the greatest obstacle we have against living reform is not just ignorance, which we got plenty, it's those damn bastards that run everything that don't give us an avenue to put the information out there. We got an avenue now. We got YouTube. We can get this message out. We can take away the tool that's being used to control us. It's one of the most important things we have to do downstream. It's why I talk about it. It's why I talk about controversial topics where people are going to start thinking or hating me, thinking, oh my God, he's anti-Semitic. You've been so brainwashed you don't even realize Jews aren't Semites. I mean, when you look more into this, you realize that it's all a distraction. And we don't need to be distracted here. Forget everything about Hitler. Who cares whether he's good or bad? He did something that woke us up, and that's all we need to take from Hitler. I'll concede he's evil. I don't care. It doesn't matter. What matters is what he proved to the world. Japan did the same thing. What did the world do? They attacked him. Listen to the Benjamin Friedman speech, and you'll understand that Hitler was pretty nice to the Jews after what the Jews did to Hitler. Germany was about to win the war. They were weeks away from winning the war effortlessly. And what happened in America, what was happening in America is the media, the press is owned by a small group of people, remember? And they were saying, Hitler, Germany good, Germany good, Germany good, support him, support him, support him. And we all went along because we're good little sheeple, right? We read it in the newspaper. Well, the Jews came up with a game plan. And they said, look, we can get if we can get America involved, will you give us Palestine? And we can get America involved because we own the press over there. We can change public opinion around in a flash. We can make up stories about how bad these are. And when you look at the evil atrocities that happened during that time, it was back in Russia, the gulags in Russia. That's where you see a lot of those pictures. And then when you see people that were starving to death in these work camps, the reason why they were starving to death is months before the war was ended, the Allied forces, the bad guys, bombed the hell out of the roads that brought supplies to those work camps. Now, why would they do that? Oh, they're building ammunition. They don't care who dies. And that's why we see the people starving. These people were well fed. Do some research, and they were fed plant food that wasn't cooked that much to make it nutritious. It only makes sense. Think about it. Come on, man. If everybody is fighting in the war, who's going to build the ammunition? The women, the children? Hey, I got a bunch of people who are always quarantined by every country when a war breaks out, and there are people who could be against us. And that's exactly what happened. And again, once you understand how they betrayed Germany, the Germans treated these people good. And look how they were betrayed. They brought America into the war, and they were able to defeat the Germans. The Germans were that close to winning the war. And Hitler was wanting to give everything back. He said, let's call it quits. I don't want any of this. Let's be nice. Let's do it the right way. And again, if Hitler would have won the war, this world would be a different world right now. He would have turned Germany into a vegetarian country. People would have seen around the world, look, see, this is what I'm trying to do now with you guys. We got to reach the tipping point. And I still get comments from people saying, oh, you're not being realistic. Look at reality. None of people are going to eat raw food. Well, not right now because they don't know what they're missing. No one is in a position to evaluate what we're doing and what we need to do because we're not going to think it's a fair trade. That's why the Jews fast is an idea as time has come, because we can get enough of us to do this, wake everyone up, and we see results 10 times faster, so you can do something on a temporary basis that's not threatening. I agree 1,000%. Convincing anybody to go raw vegan doesn't work. That's why I say there are 3 ways to correct 5 main mistakes. 2 of them, not enough of us are willing to do to get everyone's attention. Eating a raw vegan diet and a water fast, not enough people are willing to do. So I agree, I'm realistic. It's pie in the sky, hoping that you can get enough people to do that. But a Jews fast is a different story, my friends. We can do this, and it's already been done before. Don't tell me I'm not realistic. Bill Bright already had 14 million people doing it. This is an exciting time to live. I'm telling you, we can wake up the masses and take back the money supply so we can take back our educational systems and all that kind of stuff. And that's the downstream work we got to do immediately. But in the meantime, we got to reach the tipping point, because if we don't, things will never change. And I know that. That's why I'm putting all my energy into promoting the first of my 3-step process. Because when you do this, once again, you see results 10 times faster. Within a week, you have a light bulb moment, because things are still coming out of you. And depending upon how old you are, you keep going, you'll start seeing things with definitions and grooves. It's going to blow your mind. I'm telling you, my friends, I had a 20-pound cesspool in me when I had no idea it was there. And when I got rid of it, I crawled out of a rut I didn't know I was in. This is one of the most exciting experiences that most people can ever have. So what do I want to do in this video? Address piece number 1, piece number 3. Piece number 1, raw vegan diet. How do we do it? Juice fast first. Best preparation for a better way of life. And then downstream, what do we do downstream? We got to deal with the dark side of our behavior. The only way to deal with that is to go upstream and get all of us reconnected. But in the meantime, we got to do damage control. We got to take back the money supply. We got to do away with usury. This was outlawed for a long time in the Christian church up until around the 1200s or so, when the Knights Templar found these books underneath Solomon's temple, these magic books, and they became the first bankers. And to this day, Muslims still forbid usury, although I've been talking to people in these countries and things have changed a little bit. But there's a reason why all of our energy is going against hating the Muslims. It's because the people who rule the world want everyone to be under usury, underneath their spell, their monetary system. And this isn't that complicated to understand. Watch the Thrive documentary to watch how when money's created, it creates such an imbalance of money between the ones who print it and the ones who have it, that they can easily own and control everything. And again, they got so much money more than we have, they don't need any more, they just got to keep us poor. So that's what everything is all about. It's all about a distraction. It's all about relying on the fact they know they bombard our brains with bullshit. All they have to do is flash a picture up to us, and we go back to thousands of references that make us think it's true. Don't you see how a belief and an idea has a bunch of references to it? And that's what we're up against. Too many references that support this bullshit. And there's no way you can really undo most of those unless you have a brand new reference. And you can learn, it doesn't take long to do a little bit of research on this. As I was saying, my file on here was 150 pages long until I read a quote by JFK. When he went on and on about how this was one of the greatest men of last century, I'm thinking to myself, what's going on with JFK? I know he's not a dumb guy. I know he wouldn't say something like that. You guys should know this about me by now. You know I'm not an idiot. You know I put together some good information. You think I'm going to just all of a sudden flip out and go the wrong way? I don't have a dog in the race. Or a horse in the race. I don't have anything personal about this. I just understand how it plays a role and how it keeps us from understanding the role money plays. If you think Hitler is evil, you'll never look at anything he did. That's why they did that. That's why they demonized him. So, sit down before fact like a little child. Empty your cup. If you're going to ever get anywhere in life, you got to empty your cup. And it's interesting, people have different sized cups to fill. And I'm seeing that throughout my post. I'm a Y guy, I've got a big cup. And I'm going to appeal to people who like big cups. And I see you little guys with small cups going, small cup, small cup, small cup, give me my small cup. I'm sorry, man, I know what you want. But that's not me, I'm a Y guy. That's what I'm all about. So, I'll try to address some of the what questions for people who are in a hurry and I just want to know what to do so they can go on and do it. But like, they got a lot of physical energy, I understand that. Sometimes you got a big cup of whys and what ifs, and sometimes you don't. It just depends on what you team up that other personality trait with. So I understand where you're coming from, and I know I'm going to appeal to a certain group of people. So the type of people I'm going to appeal to are people who are open-minded. If you're closed-minded and you cling to beliefs, and you don't want to subscribe to me, I'm sorry, you're missing out, because I've got some great knowledge that can make a difference to you. And you need to understand that we got to work downstream in addition to going upstream. This is a piece of the puzzle most people get. In fact, I don't know if I'm going to do this or not. I may put up a raw vegan questionnaire. Why group people into 17 groups based on these two pieces of the puzzle? Whether or not you know it or you don't, and whether or not you want to know about it or you don't, and then whether or not you're even capable or not. And who knows, I may follow this video up, I may go home and I'll just maybe turn the camera on the computer and show you those instead of going through them. It'll be a lot easier for you to see them as I'm talking about them. And in the meantime, if you want to take your life to another level, go down below, listen to the Dr. Roby interview, watch the Deborah Duncan show, and then you can go to my seminar that explains how to do the first of my 3-step process. And by now, you should know, when you do it, you're in for a treat.